Hello, everybody. Good morning, all of you. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to my channel. This is Poonam Avasthi, your SST teacher. Today, we are going to begin Geography Chapter 9 Human Resources. Please refer page number 186 to 192 for this chapter. At the end of the video, you will be getting a home task. Do that positively in the notebook. And yes, in case of any doubt, feel free to connect with me. So let's begin the chapter Human Resources. Welcome all of you in Social Studies class. Today we are going to study Geography chapter 9 Human Resources. Students, please refer page number 186 to 192 for this chapter. In our previous chapters of geography, we started with resources, then we moved on to different types of resources, be it land and soil, minerals, power resources or industries. But finally students, it is we, humans, who need to use all these diverse resources available to us and turn them into raw materials or in other usable forms. After all, people are a nation's greatest resource. That is what we would be learning in this video, that how people can be a resource. Now students, understand what are human resources. Human beings who are healthy, educated and mentally strong can prove to be useful for a country or community and are treated as resources and called human resources. Students, as we all are well aware that human beings can discover, exploit, develop and convert all of the natural resources into useful articles. Thus, human beings are the greatest resource on earth. They develop these resources as per their requirements. Students, you must be amazed that 5,000 years ago, skilled and unskilled slaves, soldiers and others falling under labor categories needed managing. Since then, how to best manage people has been a long-standing issue. But like I said, people indeed are a nation's greatest resource. They need to be managed and their potential needs to be used to the fullest because nature's bounty becomes significant only when people find it useful. I hope students you all agree with this. Students, we all know this that since people have demands and needs, they convert naturally available resources into something more useful with their abilities, and this makes people the ultimate resource. Healthy, educated and motivated people develop resources as per their requirements. Similar to other resources, human resources are also not equally distributed over the world. Educational backgrounds, age, sex ratio are different in different geographical areas. The number and characteristics also keep changing. Now, the Government of India has a Ministry of Human Resource Development which was created in 1985 with an aim to improve people's skills. And this itself is a proof that human is a very important resource for a country. Let us now understand factors affecting the distribution of population. The way in which people are spread in different parts of the world. This is known as the pattern of population distribution. And students, here is alarming thing. More than 90% of population lives in 30% of the land surface. Human population is distributed unevenly in the world, while some areas are crowded and the others are sparsely populated. The thickly populated areas are Eastern and Southern Asia. The moderately populated areas are found in central USA, tropical West Africa, southern parts of Russia, Deccan Plateau of India, and central China, etc. And students, note down here high latitude areas, tropical deserts, and high mountainous areas, and the areas of dense forests are usually sparsely populated. As in these areas, the physical environment is not favorable for human habitation. Moving on, let's understand the concept of density of population. The number of people living in 1 square kilometer area of land is called density of population. The density of population varies from one area to another. Now after this we'll understand major factors influencing the distribution of population. So students, no single factor can explain the uneven distribution of population in the world. It can be only explained through the interaction of different physical, social, economical, cultural factors. The physical or natural factors include relief, type of land, climatic conditions, natural vegetation, soil and water availability. And others factors include mineral deposits, industries, transportation, urbanization and migration. Let's understand first factor, relief. Relief means type of land. So people prefer living on plains rather than plateaus and mountains since these areas are more suitable for agricultural activities, manufacturing activities and also service activities. Next is climatic conditions. Temperature and rainfall influence the concentration of population in any area. Extreme climatic conditions discourages concentration while moderate climate favors human settlement. As we have seen, people generally stay away from extreme climates, very cold or very hot. Next factor is natural vegetation. Dense and inaccessible forests grow in hot and humid areas. Such conditions discourage population habitation. Now soil. Fertile soil offer optimal land for farming. The fertile alluvial and lava soils can support more population than the desert, mountain and laterite soils. And so, we have seen the development of ancient civilizations in the river valleys. It was due to fertile soil. Now, water. People prefer to live in those areas where water is easily available. So, the river valleys are densely populated. Now, minerals. Places with rich deposits of minerals are naturally more populated. Diamonds in Africa, gold in Australia attracts people. Now students, economic factors like industries, means of transport, it offers more employment opportunities. And social factors like better housing, health, educational facilities also affect the population distribution. And students, sometimes the government policies cause migration of people from one region to another. We have seen this under the British rule. Many Indians were sent to different places to work on the plantations. So, that was because of government policies. Now students, let's explore the concept of change of population. In very simple language, understand this. The change of population means the change in the number of people living in a territory during a specific time. This change can be expressed either in absolute numbers or in percentage. Population change, it depends upon birth rate, death rate and migration. Now students, you must be wondering the meaning of these words. So let's explore this. Birth rate, the number of live births per 1,000 persons in a year is known as birth rate, and the number of deaths per 1,000 persons in a year is known as death rate. And students, when we find out the difference between the birth rate and death rates in a year, it gives us the annual growth rate of population. Students, population change also depends on migration. So what is migration? Movement from one country, region or place to another is called migration. And students, you must have seen people usually migrate from underdeveloped to developed areas in search of better economic opportunities. And the adverse conditions operating in the areas such as unemployment, poverty, poor education and health facilities, all of these things force people to migrate to one place to another, from underdeveloped to developed areas. I hope the concept of change of population is clear to all of you. Now, it is very important to understand population composition. Composition means structure of population. The people living in a country is the population of the country. Age, sex, literacy and occupation are some of the components of population compositions. Age composition. So on the basis of age, it is divided into three sections. 14 years and under are considered as children. 15 to 59 years makes the adult group. 60 years and over are termed as aged or senior citizens. There are two groups of people who are treated as dependents. So students, think, out of these three categories, who two will be dependent? Yes, you all are correct. Those below 14 years and those who are 60 years and above will be treated as dependents. And students, people in the age group of 15 to 59 years, adults, they are capable of working and form the national wealth. They possess knowledge, skills and abilities which makes them valuable human resources. And hence they are considered as the working population and economically active portion. Students, you all will be very happy to know this, that India has large adult ratio, which is a very good indicator. With proper training, education and health facilities, human resources can be transformed into human capital. Now see the next component, sex ratio. The ratio between males and females is known as sex ratio. It is represented as the number of females per 1,000 males. And students, it must be balanced. In underdeveloped nations, the sex ratio is often found unfavorable to females, and which is not a positive indicator for a country's development. Now after this, let's understand the next component, literacy. Students, you may have observed this. People are not equally educated in every part of the world. Major factors which affect the literacy rate are the levels of economic development, urbanization, standard of living, social status of women, availability of educational facilities and government policies. We have seen that the literacy rate is higher in urban areas than in rural areas. Literacy influences the social and economic development of a country, so it is a very important component. And students, occupation. A large number of people make their way into the places where more employment opportunities are found. This we have seen in migration also, that people migrate from one place to another. in search of occupation. So, by this we are done with the components of population composition. Now students, after this, at the end, understand the relation between population growth and development. The effect of population growth can be positive or negative depending on the circumstances. A large population has the potential to be great for economic development if trained in a proper way. But in general, it has been observed that in developed countries, the growth rate of population is low. So, the standard of living is high. It is reverse in underdeveloped and developing countries. In underdeveloped and developing countries, the growth rate of population is high and the standard of living is low. So students, after understanding this chapter, you all will agree with this. We in India are fortunate to have abundant resources, provision of proper education and skills, along with lucrative job opportunities will surely put our nation on a fast track. A skilled, spirited and hopeful young population endowed with positive outlook, knowledge is the key to a nation's golden future. So with this positive note, we are done with this chapter. Now it is home task time. Let's have a look to it. Do it positively and in case of any doubt, feel free to connect. After this, I hope all your concepts are clear. It's time for me to leave. Best wishes. Stay a good learner. Don't forget to like and share the video. Keep watching, keep learning.